I can conduct.
All right.
Or did you want to, Victoria?
I'm fine with whatever.
Okay. All right. Well,
Andrew, we've missed you. We'll let you do it.
thanks. Well, yeah, because haven't I missed like the last two?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
We feel like you're a stranger to our group now. Just kidding.
I'm a strange. All right. So if we could start with a prayer, does anyone want to say that?
I can say it.
Okay.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for the opportunity we have to come together as students and continue our learning and education of business, and please help me be able to be inspired as we learn more about this case through each other's opinions and thoughts, and please help me be able to be guided to the correct answers and be able to compromise and find solutions to the issues that the companies face. Please help that we'll be able to remember to use the Spirit throughout our lives and look for service opportunities throughout the week. And I say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right. While I pull this up, the questions, does someone want to share a scriptural thought or a spiritual thought?
I had one, but I can't remember what it was now. So in Institute, we studied, I'm in a dating and courtship class, and it's not as dorky as it sounds, but we were studying Deborah, who is one of the only female judges in the Old Testament. And it talks about her, we were talking about her and how there's a quote by Elder Nelson that says that the church needs women who can make important decisions by their faith. And so we used Deborah as an example because they're fighting the Canaanites, and there's this leader, I can't remember what his name is, but Deborah and Barak, Deborah basically calls the general of their army and is like, hey, the Lord told you to do this, but you haven't done it yet. And he's supposed to take 10,000 men and go fight the Canaanites who have 100,000 men and 900 chariots. And he's like, well, I'll only go if you go, because he's minorly terrified. And so she's like, sure, let's go. And she gives this like rousing pep talk when they get to the top of the mountain and they can see like the armies below them. And she's just like, we'll fight, we'll win, we have God on our side. It's prophesied that we'll take them down and that a woman will follow the general. And so they fight, and the Lord floods the field that the 100,000 are standing in, effectively destroying their chariots. And the army takes out everyone, and the leader runs away to this like tent in kind of no man's land where there's supposed to be peace. And this woman who's in the tent, she's a mother at home, and he comes in and he's like, hide me, protect me. So she like puts a blanket over him and gives him milk and tells him she'll protect him. But she knows who he is and how wicked he is. And so he falls asleep after she bundles him up. And while he's asleep, she grabs a nail and drives it through his head, effectively killing him. And so a woman like downed the army, but like the point was that both women in the story were important women who could make decisions based on their faith. And that Elder Nelson said that the battle in the future, women will come to the church in droves, and the battle in the future won't be fought by missionaries or women out serving. It'll be fought by the women in their homes. And I just thought it was interesting to like think about that. It is important to keep your home a sacred and safe place so that you can protect.
Oh, that's cool.
That's so true. I have a 13-year-old son, and like tonight I just had a conversation with him about decisions that he's going to be making, and he keeps texting this girl that he's good friends with, and so we just got into this conversation of like, okay, next change in life is going to happen, and we're going through all these things. And like I was talking to him about like how he likes to be on like watch videos on YouTube all the time and stuff like that. And so it just got us into a good conversation about being aware of certain like pornography site, things with pornography, and just it was a really like crazy weird lead into how it happened to have that conversation with him tonight. But like that's so true, because as a mom, I'm like, I don't want that evil spirit in my home. I don't want this. I want you to be protected. And it's so true nowadays. Like it seems like with my kids being teenagers and going through the choices that they have to make, the mom really does have to make sure that her kids are doing everything that they're supposed to be doing to fight off those things of the world.
All right, so going into the questions we have, what's the first one? What grade would you give Morgan for how he pursued SkyHook, and why? Morgan was Ted Morgan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I remember at one point, I don't remember which one it was. Yeah, I think it was Ted. When it came down to like them needing more money, he signed up for a bunch of new credit cards so that he could, I don't know if he maxed them out, but obviously he used them enough to, it says credit cards. So, I mean, that kind of shows commitment when you're putting your own personal investment on the line, your own name, right?
Yeah, because he took a second mortgage out on his house first, and then he went and applied for credit cards. I also think that he's a diehard, because like even he got to the point where his family was needing like help with medical. What's the word? I can't remember how it's worded in the case study, but basically like medical care, help care for his kids or something like that.
Oh, and wasn't it him that where like it came to a point where like, who was it? There was some agency that was trying to get involved, saying like are your kids being taken care of? Like,
Yeah, the Department of Social Services started inquiring if his kids had food and heat.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because that's like diehard for me. I'd be like, I'm out. Like after the second mortgage is done.
Well, Mike gave up his apartment. He ended up sleeping on a buddy's couch to like help pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who does that?
Sorry. I would give both like A or A minus because they both sacrifice a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
And something that they didn't even know that it would work. So they had passion about their ideas.
I'd probably give him a B because it was a little risky. Like everything they did was really risky. Like Ted's left with a lot of debt if he doesn't if this company doesn't take off, and Mike's basically just screwed.
Yeah. I would say an A for effort, but I don't know if I'd give him an A for
Stupidity.
Yeah.
Yeah, their logic was a little off.
It makes me wonder what Ted's wife thought too, because like Mike's not married, right? Doesn't have a family. He's on his own, but it makes me wonder what Ted's wife thought. Was like, you're gonna like sacrifice our entire life just for this business.
Yeah.
And it's something that would have returned fast. It's something that they need to develop. It's technology. It takes time to develop everything. So the return of investment would be like 2 to 3 years that they would have to live on that situation.
And that's tough when you have a house and you have kids, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I agree. Let's give them a B, because A for all of that stuff, but yeah, B for stupidity because you put yourself in a horrible position.
We gotta knock off points for the stupidity that happened.
I agree.
Yeah. So the next question, SkyHook developed a pretty cool technology that has gotten lots of positive feedback. Put yourself in the shoes of Ted Morgan. Why the lack of sales?
I feel like...
Go ahead.
Sorry. I feel like they had a really good idea. People could see the value on the idea, but most of them didn't know how to use that technology. They didn't know how to apply, how that works. So people were like a little bit I don't know how to say that word.
Skeptical.
Skeptical.
Skeptical on buying it.
I also think too, one of the things that I put in my case study evaluation or whatever is that I think that they just didn't get hooked up with the right person in the companies. So like you can like talk to a lot of people in a company, but only certain, like the CFO can make huge decisions when it comes to purchasing things for the company, right? So I think maybe they just didn't get into the right person to either persuade the deal to happen or to be that person that makes those decisions to make to take on new products like that.
Yeah, and then it talks about later how their demands were kind of high for as risky as the investment would be, or as risky as it would be to be a purchaser, because I guess even the investors realized that it was going to take a lot of overhead in order to get things running.
Right.
So, any other thoughts on that? For the next question, then, review the deals below and describe the proposed deal, outcome, and lessons learned. So, for Microsoft, the proposal, I think they had wanted to sell it for $300,000. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then that one. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say Microsoft counter offered for $100,000 and a one-time deal with them.
And no fee for additional.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say the lesson learned would be for that?
I think they said that it was a 7 days of silence. So I think maybe if they keep following up and keep like trying to get meetings with like what you mentioned, trying to talk with the CEO or if the people responsible for making the decisions, maybe it would have had another outcome.
A different effect, yeah.
It kind of made me think that Microsoft is kind of jerky in the way that they're dealing with their company, because why would you wait so long? Even if you don't want the deal, like be upfront about it instead of ignoring them, basically. Because I kind of felt like as I was reading it, they were avoiding telling them that they weren't interested.
Yeah.
Or trying to lowball it, I guess, too.
It could have been, too, that they were calling their bluff and knew that they were in their situation that they were in and said, well, this is a chance that we can get a worthwhile product, but with people who are desperate, they can offer low.
Yeah.
They can play hardball.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. So then the next one, what's E911 again? Was that just the emergency line for 911 or 911?
Yeah, the voice. What was it? The voice. I can't remember what the.
And that's not happening also.
So then, what was their proposition to them?
Wasn't there 6.5 million?
Yeah. I think
that was for the Series B.
Yeah, that was for Series B.
Okay. Then I'm wrong.
Trying to find.
Isn't that what we're looking into, though, Series B? Because Series A is when they took out all the credit cards.
Well, I thought, because this is Microsoft, and then the next one that we'd be working on is Nokia. I thought they were trying to sell it to customers, not funding. So this is I thought this was talking about sales, because the product was like a GPS system, so that would be like useful to 911 operators or people that work for like the emergency line, because then it helps them to be able to find people, right?
Yeah.
I don't see a price though where they offered them anything.
Yeah.
I thought it was the 6.5 million.
This is Bain Capital and Intel invested 6.5 million in the Series B round. The pre-money valuation was a modest step up from the A round valuation with relatively standard preference and control rights.
Mm.
The only thing that I can see, other than that 6.5 million, was it said by using the free VoIP, which is the 911, whatever. SkyHook often kept its monthly phone bill under $200, but that's the only part I see different from.
Maybe it's a typo then.
Yeah.
Maybe it should have just been Microsoft and Nokia.
That's the only other part that I see as far as the E911 was the 6.5 million. And then that fell through also.
Yep. So then let's jump down then to Nokia. What was their proposition for Nokia?
So Nokia was, I just found this too.
It's on
It
page.
was 30 cents to $1 per device, and then I don't remember what Nokia's counter was.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't think it says.
I don't think so. I just think they asked for that depending on the volumes and upfront commitments. And then Nokia was unclear on whose budget this would come from. That's all it says about it.
So then the outcome, did they just get the runaround then from Nokia?
Yeah, they had 60 meetings with Nokia and got nothing.
Oh my gosh.
That's
they got a
crazy.
waste of time. That's what they got.
Yeah, they had over 60 meetings with them.
Dang.
So they must have really like believed in Nokia, but
well, Nokia had just bought a company in Finland and Germany, I think. No, they just bought a company for $8 billion. So my guess is they were, to do GPS mapping applications. So they were thinking that they were going to get something similar, is my guess.
Yeah. So what it was I guess a Navtech was something that they were already using, and that with using Navtech's infrastructure, they would be able to produce a similar product that SkyHook was offering. So it's like, why would they need to buy SkyHook when they could just have Navtech utilize just more fully what they're capable of? So yeah, I guess then the outcome for Nokia just would have been just a waste of their time. Do you think that if you would have offered them less, they would have accepted? Like if SkyHook would have said 10 cents per device?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It
Either.
said like in the case, it says that the manager struggled with the idea of paying for another location service after they had just invested in one.
Yeah.
So my guess is no matter how low they dropped it, Nokia would like struggle to say yes.
Yeah, because $8 billion is a lot.
Yeah, and 30 cents or even 10 cents per device is a lot too when you think about how many Nokias have been sold.
But in the reading too, they say if you put in, what is that, 1 to 2%, you really only get like 0.03 of that. I can't remember where I saw that like you get nothing. So basically you have to come out with a huge deal in order to even get something, because so here it is. To get rich, you have to be a founder and build a valuable company. If you're not the founder at the 1 or 2% of a firm's equity you start with, it gets diluted down to a quarter to 0.3 of that 1%. So I don't know, like if you think of 10 cents per device sold, I mean, that's still pretty good, I think, what they're coming out with. But if Nokia can get it somewhere else for a different, I can see why they wouldn't want to do business with them.
Yeah. So then for the next question, who benefits from the technology? What problems does it solve? Who has these problems? We can go with those questions.
So one thing I thought about this question was, to me, I feel like everybody benefits from this technology. Like if you're in any kind of building or company or anything, if you have these, like they explained them as the lily pad type locations, it really would be a benefit to anybody who needed that type of Wi-Fi or that kind of technology. When I first read the question, do the business decision makers in the companies feel the pain that the solution solves? I first put yes, but then I kind of understood it in a different way. Like for the inventors, it solves a pain, but for the companies purchasing it, maybe some of them don't see it as a problem because they're not, I don't know, they just have better Wi-Fi in their buildings, or, you know, but to me as a consumer, or as a, you know, just going to different places, I think it would be beneficial to anybody who's anywhere working in any business. I think it would be a beneficial thing to them.
Yeah, I agree. And like even the company I used to work for, even though I used to always be in the office, there was a lot of people who were ground crew and who were all over the valley, hours apart. Well, not hours apart, but I mean close to it, depending on the traffic. And it's like if, say, a lead manager, like over lineman, needs to know where his guys are, and he had that capability to figure out where they were, that would be super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I also think too, if you think of your own phone plan, let's just go with phones for a minute. Mm-hmm. If you think of your own phone plan, you only have Wi-Fi if you're connected to everybody's password or, you know, whatever. So like in this case, it would be cool because like for my work, I use my own personal cell phone. And if I were to go to different places, and I didn't have the Wi-Fi, my data would be being used up on work and I don't get reimbursed for that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if you had like these locations everywhere and the companies could purchase into it and be have benefits, like you were saying, your ground crew, I think it would be totally worth it in a company situation, because then you're, as a personal owner of a cell phone, I wouldn't have to be using all of my data for my work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
I hope that makes sense, but that's kind of what I was thinking in my own world of understanding how Wi-Fi and data and all that stuff works. So.
Yeah. And also when you're traveling, like he said, that if you're a building and you want to find the restaurants around, you could just use that and find everything that is near.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then which strategy option did you guys favor?
I think they should sell it.
Sell it?
I think they should persevere.
I thought they should sell it, and then after reading the Steve Jobs contact them, I felt they should persevere because maybe he has a great offer to offer.
Yeah.
I think Steve Jobs is going to screw him over.
Do you think so?
You think so?
Yeah, because as I was reading so they call him a ruthless bargainer and a mercurial partner. Those are not good terms for him. I had to look up what that mercurial partner really meant. Yeah. And it's not a good thing. So I think he's gonna like lowball them or like weasel them to sell to Google, who Google's CEO is their board member. So, and he can get service at no cost with them, right? Because he's partnering up with Google already. So I think he's just gonna either screw him over or give him a really low ball deal.
I did a little bit of reading on, or at least like study on Steve Jobs, and I guess he was kind of, even though he was kind of ruthless, he was still like, he would be sporadic. Like it wasn't always consistently the same.
Yeah.
it was interesting that he was the one that made the call, not a secretary, no one else. He was the one that made the call. So that could play a difference.
My thing is they're already in so deep, and like you can tell that they're desperate. So at this point, like persevering is going to put a lot of stress on them. And like, yeah, they could get a better offer in the long run, but is it worth the risk of like possibly taking your company in the process?
Mm-hmm.
I think they already face all the risks possible. I think they already went too far to sell the company at this point. They have sacrificed a lot to just sell it now. I think they should go through and persevere.
Andrew, what do you think?
So I had wondered about what difference it would make for the local ads, that method. There was one of the ones, let me pull it up. Let me see if I can find it. It said, oh, which was it? But I'm pretty sure it was, when I had read it, I had thought, no, they probably shouldn't. Maybe it was persevere. Because, I mean, it seems like from the feel of the way things have gone so far, like just the overall negative tone of like progress, it doesn't seem like they're gonna get much further, and it almost seemed like it was gonna be a money pit. So
then you have to ask the question, who would be interested in purchasing it with it being that much debt?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Apple has the money to purchase it.
It's true.
So sell to Apple.
Or Google. I think if you sell to one of the big ones, it just relieves that stress off of them. Like selling it, you know it's going to get used. It's going to be placed in a product that's world renowned. You're going to be like, yeah, I helped with that, which is kind of cool to say, but it's a success if you sell it.
What if they partnered with Google?
That's a good idea. I like that. Yeah.
One of the things I found says the downside, if they decided to persevere, would be that SkyHook's database would slowly deteriorate as Wi-Fi locations moved. Because like a lot of places have plans where it's like it doesn't matter how much data they use. I feel like that would impede on their business, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I would probably sell to Google or partner with Google. That would be my option, just because Google they do more with Wi-Fi than Apple does.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and if they're already on Apple's board, then they're still going to make a good amount of money too.
Yeah. Because Google uses location services, they use Wi-Fi. Google's one of the top software companies, technology. Like, and Google's rolling out a phone plan now, so they're running their own show.
So then,
did any of you guys?
Google? Oh, go ahead.
What
I was going to say, did any of you guys research anything more to find out what really happened to him?
I usually do. I always get curious, but I didn't have time today.
Because I was interested. I was going to, and I didn't yet, but I was thinking it would be interesting to see like what really happened to SkyHook and what happened in that meeting. Because I'd be interested to know what happened in the meeting.
Yeah.
And why Steve Jobs called it in the first place.
Let's Google it.
I'm Googling it.
I want to know.
I love how you guys are on it. Because it makes me wonder, did they just,
So they power Apple, Samsung, Sony, HP, Dell, Sharp, Philips, and MapQuest. I think it's its own thing. It doesn't say that it's sold.
So it did work out then.
So the right answer was persevere.
Yay!
Woo-hoo! Those of us who said.
Yeah, I said sell.
I said sell to.
I
Well,
love
guess
how we all agreed in the beginning of this semester, and now we're all just like,
savage.
one of us is the fence sitter. Seriously.
Mhm.
That's cool.
I guess sleeping on someone's couch was totally worth it in the end for them, right?
Yeah, they got their first patent in 2007, and now they hold over 400 patents across the U.S. and
Oh,
foreign markets.
Wow.
In
Shoot.
And I
February
bet you
2014, they were acquired by True Position Inc., subsidiary of Liberty Broadband. But then in 2016, they merged under the SkyHook brand.
Wow.
So they took them back over.
I bet you Mike went to Ted and said, "You owe me another house by the lake. Only bigger
Yeah.
and better."
Yeah. So then in that, I guess we kind of covered question 8 then. So as your group, prepare an agenda for your call with Steve Jobs. Now, I do not know what BATNA means.
Oh, I know what that means. Hang on.
What is your BATNA?
Sounds like Batman, but not.
Yes. You're right. Very right.
Maybe you just think like Batman when you talk to Steve Jobs, and then you'll win.
So BATNA is, what will the respective parties do if they don't come to an agreement? So if they can't, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement is what it stands for.
Just hang up. If they can't come to agreement, just hang up.
Walk away.
Just walk away.
Hang up, walk away.
We had a girl get written up at work because she did that.
Really?
Serious?
Yeah, she didn't like so my office is logistics, so we're in charge of shipping, and we told her she had to ship something out and she didn't want to, so she called us, told us she didn't want to do it, and we were trying to explain to her why she had to. She just hung up the phone.
Oh, dang.
She got written up for that.
Yikes. I take it back.
It's an effective way to end a conversation.
But when you're in a negotiation with somebody and you guys can't agree on it, though, like this is completely different, right? Because it's, do you want to buy my business, or no, we're not going to accept your offer? Because I
think you should always end on good terms, no matter what you're doing. Because just because you're not going with him now doesn't mean that it's not very impressive.
Sorry, it's my phone ringing. And it's my house phone, and we don't use our house phone for other things than like congressmen calling our house all the time, or Mia Love, or some stupid person like that. So
but yeah, I think Jobs is like a really influential person. Like Steve Jobs, everybody knows who he is. So having him call you personally it's an honor, essentially. So not letting it end on bad terms is probably the best thing, because just because you're not going with him now doesn't mean that you're not going to work with him later on.
Yeah, and one of the things too is like also like if you're on the phone, there's a lot of things that can be given as miscommunication, because when you have a chance to meet face to face, you have an opportunity to represent whatever you're saying. You can back it with evidence that you can like represent, but over the phone there can be some types of miscommunication. So if they couldn't come to an agreement, they could always schedule a meeting, schedule lunch, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's probably the more diplomatic answer.
Leave the door open for future relationships with them.
Yeah. So what are Jobs' interests?
See, now you guys have changed my mind about him, because I was thinking he was just not I was thinking he was
very bipolar.
Yeah, he was. Like,
yeah.
In one instance, he had one of the secretaries was late a couple of times that worked for him, and he asked her why she was late, and I guess she had been having car problems or something. So the next day, he had come in and bought a whole car for her, and just said, "Don't ever be late again."
Whoa, that would be me.
Yeah.
Buying the car for your employee, or you want the car bought for you?
Oh, the car bought for me. I'll be the one late.
Yeah, so like the way he acted was very just sporadic, like you said, bipolar.
He was very bipolar in life too, like with his family, with everything. That's how he was.
So then now that,
I was gonna say he passed away because he refused treatment for cancer.
Really?
Like the entire time he refused all treatment.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Well, how stupid is he?
Yeah, really bipolar. And that I mean that's what I was told. I don't know if it's true, but when I heard it I remember that it seemed to be credible. So
But why? What was the reasons? Why?
Maybe he didn't like life, so that was just the easy way out.
No, I think he was like a
kidding.
holistic healer, like remedies that are like homeopathic.
Yeah.
And so he only wanted to go that route, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a true answer to this question, this is where my mind is going now. Okay, so at first I said I think he's going to screw the company over, but after listening to Mackenzie's view of what she feels that he could have done for him, maybe he wanted to partner up with them and Google and create like a bigger, and now that we know the outcome of what this really happened, right? So maybe it was just like getting them in the door type of a deal with him.
Mm-hmm.
So his interest was probably just bringing them on board somehow. I don't know what the deal was, but
yeah, because for the next question where it says why did he call you, obviously it was super important because usually when you have a company that big and you're that important, you don't really make calls on your own. You have someone set that up for you.
Okay, what I think is funny is that he thought he was being pranked.
Oh, I know, and he deleted it.
What?
Like, no way Steve Jobs is calling my phone. Like, that's unreal.
Yeah, he's like, guys, I hate you. I deleted the message, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what? Definitely was not us. But
Jobs did deny care, and that's why.
Yep.
I looked it up. He had pancreatic cancer, and it's treatable and curable, so he essentially committed suicide.
Yep.
He refused to undergo surgery, which he regretted because he eventually underwent it, but they couldn't get all the tumor out. He tried a vegan diet, acupuncture, herbal remedies, and other treatments he found online, and even consulted with a psychic before finally giving in.
Wow. Yep. There you
What
go.
a muppet.
Yeah.
His last words were, "Oh wow." I think that's kind of funny, but.
Do you think,
oh wow.
How many times do you think he had to say, "Oh wow," or was he like, "Oh wow," and then he didn't say anything for a few days?
No, he said, "Oh wow," like they said that was all he said for several days was just "Oh wow" in monosyllables.
Like, I'm so dumb. I should have taken the treatment because oh wow, hello.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. So then for the next question, who should pay? Will you pay Apple to get into their device, or will Apple pay you? How much will you propose? Support your answer.
They'll pay us.
Yes, they will pay us. Big. How much? Support your answer. Big bucks.
Why? Because big bucks are needed.
I would say 40 cents per device, since they have a lot of customers. They have a lot of volume. So even though it was a 40 cents, they would be very, very profitable because of the business that Apple have.
Yeah. And how big is this opportunity for SkyHook?
Huge.
Yeah. It's
Agreed.
kind of like a once in a lifetime offer. Like to have Steve Jobs be like, "I'm interested in you."
Yeah.
Because he's very picky.
Well, and when you consider Apple or even Samsung and how popular they both are, I mean, when you get a call from somebody who's the owner of Apple, hello.
You think you're being pranked?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that's all the questions. Any other thoughts?
Nope.
All right.
No, I think we're good.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We'll see you guys later then.
Have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.
You guys too.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.